All right, so welcome to day 10. This is linear functions, goes along with homework 1 of your unit 2 in your 154. So really getting into the meat of this. So with linear equations and slope, we've got two main formulas for them. One is a standard notation, which is ax plus by equals c, where you'll have coefficients on the a and b. We also call that intercept notation, but the most common one is this y equals mx plus b. And we talked a little bit about it in day 9. So as we get into that arithmetic function, we had talked about this equation. Well, that mimics your linear equation, just flipped. So when we're looking at the y equals mx plus b, just to review it all, the m is known as the slope. So if your m is positive, then you have a positive slope. Your line is going up. If your m is negative, you have a negative slope, or your line is going downward. How we get slope also tells us how slanted it is, but we use any 2 points on there to get it. The point 0, comma b is the y-intercept, and we add in the 0b part. So if you have down below this guy, you've got the x-intercept is where it clips the x-axis, and the y is where it hits the y-axis, so b would be 3. So what an x-intercept is it's the point a, comma 0, and a y-intercept is 0, comma b. So we should be able to find any of them. Y-intercepts have x is 0, x-intercepts have y is 0. So the opposite one is 0, because it's where you actually cross that axis. So you might want to make a note of what your intercepts are, just so you have an idea how to find them. So if you needed to find the x-intercept, you set your y to 0. If you needed the y-intercept, you set your x to 0. So if we have this equation, y equals 2/3 x plus 2. How I usually start it is that I put the y-intercept there, the 0, comma 2. And then the slope is rise over run, which means how many up or down, depending on the sign. And it's always to the right. So you always move left to right. So this says go 2 up, 1, 2, and go 3 over, 1, 2, 3, to get my next point, and that's my line. Slope is positive, so line is going up. On this one, here's my b. It's my y-intercept 0, 2. So I'm going to put that point in. And then a negative only tells you to go down, but you still go over. You always move left to right. So minus 1 over 2, minus 1 over 2. And you can keep going for as many points as you want. I went 2 here so that we could also read the x-axis off of that graph. So what we're going to do is kind of turn these problems into these linear equations and go from there. So just a little linear review for you. And you also are going to go over the linear equations a good chunk in Math 154. This is meant to be kind of a co with that. So if we have a 950-gallon tank that's initially full of water, that's my initial value. That's my starting value. That's my B. So B is 950, and that's what we're depleting from, because we're draining at a rate of 24 gallons a minute. Now, if we're draining, that means my slope is negative. Think about when you're working these problems, if I'm draining something, I shouldn't be adding 24, it should be going down, it should be negative. So Y is going to be the amount of water in the tank, and X is going to be the number of minutes. So if I put this together, there's my PO, my D is 24, and X is my minutes. And it's important to kind of note what we just did. The water is drained at gallons per minute. That's the slope, which means gallons per minute, which is Y over X. So then when you get a problem that asks you, like below, what's the X represent? Look at your slope. It's the number of minutes. So it's going to be something in minutes, no gallons. Rate, nope, it's the actual time. It's the number of minutes. The rate is the slope itself. It's the entire thing. Then when you're being asked for y is gallons. We just talked about that. So no minutes, no gallons per minute. Let's just look at the gallons. Amount of water drained from the tank or amount of water still in the tank. It said we want to model the situation. So it's not the amount we've gained, it's the amount we still have in the tank after a certain number of minutes. So now we want to put something together and get how much water is still in the tank after 18 minutes. So we have our formula, y is equal to negative 24x plus 950, initial value and slope. And we want to know how much is in the tank after 18 minutes. So we're going to do a straight calculation there. So that gives me negative 432 plus 950 equals 518. So there will be 518 gallons left in the tank after 18 minutes. So for our next one, we want to figure out how to find the slope of a graph. Okay, so the slope is the m in the y equals mx plus b. But we need to be able to read it from a graph. So the formula you definitely want to know is this m equals, and then it's the difference of your y terms divided by the difference of your x terms. So your rise is how much you go up or down, and your run is always left to right. So you pick 2 points on the graph. In this case, -4, 0, and 0, 3. And it doesn't matter which one you label x1, y1, x2, y2, as long as you keep it consistent. And you subtract the y terms and subtract the x terms, and that gives you the slope. So continuing with this example, here's our y1, x1, x2, y2, and we're going to subtract them. So my y2 minus my y1 is 0 minus 3. My x2 minus my x1 is -4 minus 0. Watch the negatives. -3 over -4 is 3/4. Therefore, m is 3/4. And when you look at the graph, it's a positive slope, so it should be positive. If you wanted to count from the graph, we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, giving us the 3 up, 4 over. Always double check, is my slope positive or negative? Do I have it right? If you switch them, you're going to get the same answer, by the way, as long as you keep track of those negative signs. All right, so here's your next example. Go ahead and try it. Like I said, always pause me and try these first. So I'm going to grab these 2 points, -2, 2, -2, 2, and 3, -1. And I'm going to go ahead and label it x1, y1. x2, y2 doesn't matter the order. So it's going to be -1 minus 2, 3 minus 2, which is a positive, giving me -3 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good to go. And this was a negative slope just by looking at it. So I knew that I was okay with that answer. You can always check your work. For horizontal and vertical lines, they work slightly differently. I like to think of a saying, hoi vux. So a horizontal line, its equation will only have a y because it only really has y values that matter. The x's don't. The y being 2 tells you it's horizontal. The slope is always 0 and it only has y. Vertical lines have an undefined slope and only have x. So this is a vertical line. So whatever they say is where you make that line. So in the case of horizontal, line is flat, slope is 0. Vertical, the line has no slant, so the slope is undefined. If we pick 2 points on here, any 2, and we do the slope formula, we get 2 minus 2, -3 minus 1, and that's where the 0 comes from. If you pick 2 points here, you get 4 minus 1, 3 minus 3. That's where we have the problem. You cannot divide by 0. That's where you get undefined. So if you ever forget, pick 2 points and just try them out. All right, I have a practice problem coming. So you'll want to pause and try this one out. Okay, so we have our linear model is 9x plus 85. So we can put these in. This represents your x. So at 0, your sales were 85. And then this is 3 years since. So then you put in a 3, you put in a 6, you put in the 9, and you put in the 12. So if you did not get that, try it now. Okay. So putting those in, now we graph them. 0, 85, 3 is 112, 6 is 139, 9 is 166, and 12 is 193. Oh, I didn't go high enough. And that's your linear line. All right, that's pretty good. We can tell it has a positive slope because the slope is 9. So then it says here, let's go down, use the scatter plot above. Do you think the line fits the data? Absolutely, because we got the line from the data. To the nearest billion, estimate their retail sales in 2017. All right, so in 2017, we're not going to put in 2017 into it. We're going to put years since 1995, because that was our starting point. So that's our x value. So it was y equals 9 times 22 plus the 85. So approximately 283 billion. And then find the year when they will be 360. That means that's the y. So we're solving for it. So we would subtract the 85. Which gives me 275 equals 9x. Divide by 9. And I get x is 30.5, but I want them to actually be 360 billion. So I need to round up to 31 years because they won't be at 30. They won't be quite there. So it's 1995 plus 31 is the year 2026. So pay special attention to that question and make sure you understand it. All that good stuff. Every problem on here is definitely a good one for your 154. All right, last item on this one, evaluating and solving an application problem. Okay, so we're going to put this into perspective. The equation 435n minus 12,180 is a computer's profit when n computers are sold. So every ordered pair is NP, number of computers, and profit. So I really want to take that in. So identify the slope. So the slope would be the 435. And that means you earn $435 per computer. So $435 per one computer, dollars per computer. So again, I just want to point that out again. The y-intercept, let me pull this down, is automatically going to be an ordered pair 0, comma. Let me find my pen where to go. And on that note, the x-intercept is going to be something comma 0. So I'm going to go ahead and just put those in. So my y-intercept is when x is 0. So essentially that part cancels out, and it's the negative $12,180. So what that means is if this company sells 0 computers this month, they don't make a profit. In fact, they lose $12,180. You got to think all those operating costs, carrying costs. You can't just not sell anything that month. You still have rent, wages, lights, electricity, things like that. To find the x-intercept, that's the break-even point. So we're going to put in 0 for P. And then we're going to solve for N. So that ends up giving me the value of 28. And you can put that back in and check your work as well. So what that means is we need to sell 28 computers just to break even. So definitely make a note that not only are we just solving for these items, but we're figuring out what they mean in terms of perspective here. What do they mean in terms of the problem? Okay, and then what happens if we sell 45 computers for C? Let's kind of go for the gold here. Let's find the profit. Okay, so I'm gonna put those in there and just solve straight through. So if I sell 45 computers, my pen has disappeared. 45 computers, we make a profit of, that number turns into $7,395 when I put that in. So if we sell 45 computers, we're past our break-even mark and we've made a little bit of profit that month. And then let's say we need to make a little more profit than 7,000. We would put that in for P and solve for N. So you would add it, divide it, and this would automatically be 11,745 there. So when you solve that, you get 55 is my ordered pair, and then they would earn $11,745. And that concludes day 10. So you are now okay to work on your 154 and start your homework 1 there. So have a wonderful day.